a quiet village at the foot of a great mountain lived a young man named Eli. Every day, Eli watched travelers pass through the village, all heading for the top of the mountain. They said the view from the summit showed the world as it truly was. Eli dreamed of climbing it too, but no one from his small village had ever made it past the halfway point. The mountain was covered with sharp cliffs and cold winds that could tear through even the thickest coat. Most people said it was impossible. Still, one morning, Eli packed a small bag of food, a rope, and his courage, and began his climb. At first, the journey was easy. The air was fresh, the sun was warm, and he felt strong. But as he rose higher, he began to see why others had turned back. The path narrowed, storms rolled in, and the nights grew cold. On the third day, he met an old man sitting by a campfire. The man looked at him and said, "Where are you going, boy?" "To the top," Eli replied. The man chuckled softly. "You'll never make it. The mountain gets crueler the higher you go." Eli hesitated. He was tired, hungry, and afraid. But something inside him, a quiet voice, whispered, "Keep going." The next morning, the old man was gone. But something had changed in Eli. He started to think differently. Instead of seeing each cliff as an obstacle, he saw it as a teacher. When the wind knocked him down, he learned balance. When his path disappeared, he learned to make one. After a week of climbing, Eli reached a place called the Mountain of Mirrors, a steep wall of ice that reflected thousands of images of himself. Tired and weak, he looked into the mirrors and saw hundreds of versions of Eli, one giving up, one resting forever in the snow, one turning back home. Then, at the very top of the wall, he saw one image, a version of himself standing tall on the summit, smiling in the sunrise. Eli whispered, "That's the one I'll be." It took him 3 more days, but at last he reached the top. And there, just as the legends said, he saw the world spread out before him, endless and shining. But the view wasn't what changed him. What changed him was the realization that the only thing that had ever limited him was how small he had allowed himself to think. When he had thought like the villagers, he reached where they did. When he thought like a climber, he reached the halfway point. But when he began to think like the man who belonged on the summit, he reached the top. When Eli returned to the village, people gathered around him in awe. One boy asked, "Was the mountain really that hard?" Eli smiled and said, "The mountain was the same as it's always been. What changed was the size of my thinking." The world expands or shrinks to the size of your thoughts. When you think small, you live small.